Howdy folks, welcome. Welcome to the class. This is Foraging 101 presented by Belle Library and myself, so welcome here. We're just going to go over, a surface level of foraging as a whole. So foraging it's a skill that can take many years to learn, just like carpentry or painting or anything like that. It takes a lot into it, and so if I were to try to pack everything into it all in just a short class, I'd be doing you guys a disservice. So the point of this class is, over my years of foraging, I've put together 7 key lessons that I've learned, and then 7 key tips that I think beginners should follow, and that's what we're going to go over today. And then a little bit about plant identification later. We want to peek outside. It's pretty cold, but I'm still gonna try for it. So, a little bit about me. A little bit about me. My name is Josiah Parrish. I'm a wilderness first responder and wilderness skills guide, and I've been in wildlife conservation for the past 10 years, partnering with the Oklahoma City Zoo and the Department of Wildlife Conservation. And also am active on social media. That's how I like to share a lot of my stuff. So a lot of our stuff is shared through Forest Digital Outdoors, which is the outdoors group that I represent. We're established in 2019 as a community-focused group, and our goal is to provide free wilderness skills classes to the public as much as possible. And we also host some more adult, survival themed classes as well, twice a year. Our website is forestdigitaloutdoors.com, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Feel free to take pictures and share them, tag the page. It really helps spread the word so that more people can attend these free classes. A little bit about our upcoming courses. We have a couple upcoming things this month. So Earth Day is coming up soon, and for Earth Day we're choosing a public park just right down the street. The city put in this new greenway, and it needs some help. So we're going to choose Earth Day, which is a great day to get out and volunteer for the community. Free. Bring a bottle of water. We'll provide tools and bags and all that, and feel free to join. The QR code is on the left. And then in May, peak of tornado season, we're going to have our emergency preparedness course. This is emergency preparedness for the family, and it's not just for tornadoes, it's for all of Oklahoma's hazards. Great for if you're new to the area, great for if you need a refresher, or if you're starting a family and want to keep your family safe. It's all great. And anyone that's attending here, you can use a discount code ISLE to get 10% off of admission for that. And if you want to stay up to date on the latest that's coming up with Forest Digital Outdoors, a little mailing list. We can set you up with our newsletter. Just enter in your email there. So, why foraging? Why is foraging even a thing? And why do I do it? Like I said, it's an art. It's an art and it's a skill. One of the reasons I got into it is, I taught wilderness survival for many years, and one of the common themes in wilderness survival is this whole generation versus conservation. For example, if you have to stay warm at night, during a really cold night, you don't have a lot of supplies, what should you do? Should you generate heat, create a fire, find ways to keep yourself warm, or should you conserve heat? Find ways to insulate yourself, find ways to conserve what you have. And there's people go back and forth with it, but I've always leaned on the side of conservation. It seems better for me. And then that also ties into, food. Because food, should you go out and hunt? Should you spend calories and, try to track down game, or should you try to cook food or make food, or spend extra calories to lug around a bunch of food for you in the wilderness? Or could you live off the land and live off of what is around you? And that question irked me for years. And so in 2016, I was lucky enough to take a class with the late Kathy Dill. She was a Cherokee woman who taught foraging classes. And it was a really great experience to learn that there is a lot more here in Oklahoma than I realized. And that kind of opened up my eyes and started my journey of looking around myself, trying to study myself. So this image here is an image that's dear to me. This is my very first forage, and this is if you don't know what this is, it's kind of looks like a clover, but those leaves are lobed leaves; they're not rounded leaves, which means it's not a clover at all. It's a shamrock. And that specific shamrock is a variety in Oklahoma called yellow wood sorrel. And yellow wood sorrel is a tasty food. It's a tasty kind of lemony treat that you find in summertime. And when I was young, we were really blessed to have grandparents that had land. And my dad, sauntering around in the corner there, he would take us on little walks, little walkabouts in the woods, and teach us how to observe the trees, how to observe the seasons, and nothing fancy like hunting or anything, just how to be outside, how to be an outdoorsman. And he would also show us this little treat on the ground. And I always found it easier to find it next to mullein instead of looking for it by itself. But it was really eye-opening to me, especially at a young age. Like, I'm out here in the woods, and I grew up in the city. We had to go out to grandparents' land for that. So, I'm around concrete and Bermuda grass all the time. But you go out into the woods, and there's this delicious treat on the ground, and it's just on the ground. And you can just pick it up and eat it. And that was just mind-blowing to me. And it wasn't until later in life that really stuck with me, and that kind of, I like to say that planted a seed in me, and it grew into this idea of foraging today. So that's how I like to see it. It's this journey.
One little thing I would like to add to this, if I may, if you'll forgive me, but my dad taught the wood sorrel to me. We didn't call them wood sorrel, we called them sheep showers, or sheep sours. And that's my earliest memory also. And when I was going to school, come springtime, I'd be in school and we'd be marching back or coming back from band practice somewhere, and through the woods, I'd see those and start picking them up and eating them. I got reprimanded several times by teachers who didn't have a clue what I was eating.
Probably pretty scary. Seeing your kids do that. But I mean, that's a very important point. Foraging, you can read about it and you can take classes and stuff, but the best way to learn, the way that I started learning, is by learning from someone, by passing down information. That's the point of this class, and that's why we're teaching foraging today. So, 7 steps. Start foraging. These are the 7, that I think are the best lessons that I have learned, and they kind of open up my eyes, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So, lesson number 1, learn your biomes. So, Oklahoma has very diverse biomes. They're also called ecoregions. And so, a little bit about anywhere that you go is going to have different sets of flora and fauna. And you can call these different things, but we call them biomes. biomes, and they make up the flora, the fauna, make up the soil types, the elevation, the relative climate, and they are different everywhere you go. If you forage here in Oklahoma and you become a master at foraging in Oklahoma, and then you go over to New Mexico, you're going to be completely lost. It's not like Oklahoma at all, because it's a different biome. A little bit about our biomes here is over on the west side of Oklahoma is what we call shortgrass prairie. If you ever go out west and get out that far, you'll realize there's nothing out here. It's all flat and dry, no trees, just shortgrass, really arid. Foraging there is, it's really dependent on springtime, when we get there 1 or 2 rains per year. In more of the this kind of magenta area, and then up there is the mixed grass prairies and Flint Hills prairies. So that's a little bit more hilly and a little bit greener. Has similar flora to the shortgrass prairie, but it's getting a little bit closer to where we are here at cross timbers. Cross timbers, great way to just think of the cross timbers. If you've been out to Wichita Wildlife Refuge, if you guys been out there, it's a mix of prairie, but also lots of heavy oaks, lots of tall cottonwoods, tall sycamores. We do have more moisture here, so more lakes, rivers, streams, so a lot more accumulation of flora that like wetter climates. And it really is kind of this perfect Goldilocks zone of foraging here in cross timbers. I say that, and then the Ozarks and the Ouachita Mountains, those are prime, because it's really cool out there. But it's very different. We have mostly oaks and cedars out here, and Ozarks and Ouachita is more pine forests and stuff. But really cool areas. And then so Oklahoma is actually one of the most diverse states. We have all of these ecoregions all in this state. And so it becomes important when you're studying foraging, because every ecoregion is going to be different. You can get foraging guides, and I do encourage you to, if you are serious about getting into foraging, go check out a book, because foraging guides, they are specific to pretty much every biome. So you can find a book, one that I like. I meant to bring mine, so forgive me, but one that I like is by John Slattery, and it's Foraging in the Southwest, and it's specifically for the cross timbers. And it's really great. But it's not always the same. You're not always going to find the same information in each book, so get multiple, because foraging really is an art. Everyone treats it differently. Everyone has different observations with it. So phenology is another big one. Study the changes of each season. So in foraging, I like to say that every season is a new menu. These 2 pictures were taken pretty much in the same area. And in the wintertime, we have the little oyster mushrooms, Pleurotus genera of mushrooms, and they're really only found, at least these white oysters are really only found in the wintertime. And if we show up in the summertime, you ain't gonna find them. They're not there. Doesn't mean they don't grow in this ecoregion, but it's not the right season, not the right menu. What you will find in the summer is purple coneflower, the genera Echinacea, and that's a really great tool, I would say, is purple coneflower. And it is, it's one that you really only find in the summertime. Those yellow wood sorrel that I brought up, those really only show up in the summertime. And this is it, and this goes not just for foraging, but for the entire biome as a whole. When you think of, and it doesn't mean that the plants are gone too. The oyster mushroom, even though the fruiting bodies are gone in the summertime, does not mean the oyster mushroom is gone. Just because the echinacea plant is not flowering in the summertime doesn't mean the plant is gone. But and that's important because, you know, there's other plants like dandelions, which those are around all year round. But it's different parts of the forage that you'll use during different parts of the year. For example, now in the springtime and early summer, the dandelions are, you know, they're flowering and the leaves are really rich, so they're really tasty greens. But in the wintertime, the leaves are going to be bitter, if they're even there at all. However, the roots, all the energy of the plant is going down into the roots. And the roots are going to be rich with energy and rich with nutrients. And so that's what you would use. And it's the same plant, but it's a different menu. It's part of the season.
Are the mushrooms actually growing on that bark? And what kind of tree is that they grow on?
So that one I found on an oak tree. Every mushroom will have its favorite tree variety. And so, and for these types of mushrooms, especially the choice edible mushrooms that you find, they're more likely going to favor trees as opposed to soil. It's not always the case. That's just a general. And some mushrooms, you know, they break down different parts of the biome. And the mushrooms that grow on the trees, like these oyster mushrooms, the way that a tree works is a tree has bark, and then it has the sapwood, and then it has the heartwood. In most trees, the heartwood is actually dead. It's not really a living part of the tree anymore. The tree's more of the living outside rings of the tree. And so the mushrooms will actually, you know, break down this interior part of the tree, and that is actually where the mycelium is living, is inside that tree, breaking it down. Now, depending on the type of mushroom and how it's breaking up the tree, is also going to affect the taste. So, you know, people like oyster mushrooms because they have a fishy taste, but I also don't like them because I feel like they have more of that fungusy breaking down the tree taste that, you know, morels and chanterelles don't have.
You said it was growing on oak. What kind of oak?
I took that picture in 2020, so I'm not sure off the top of my head. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. I was out near, these were taken near Extension Wildlife Refuge. Have you ever been out there?
Yeah.
These are right off the trail there, Extension. So I'm not sure, just by looking at the picture, what variety of oak it was. But it was some sort of oak. And you know, persimmons are another type of fruit that they will fruit during the fall. But you don't want to eat them then. You want to eat them during the wintertime after it first freeze. And same is true for fauna. You know, you hear stuff about, you know, don't eat rabbits after the first until after the first freeze. So observe your seasons. It is key. Next one. Don't limit your knowledge to edibles, like learn all of your flora and learn your flora at least to the genus. So the reason why this is important is it helps you recognize edible species and avoid dangerous lookalikes because the genus group of each variety, it's really hard to memorize each species, but the genus group is going to have pretty similar characteristics for each plant, and it will also have the really defining characteristics. That's really where the whole deviation between, you know, this is a toxic plant and this is an edible plant is there at that genera. So, for example, The genus Allium has, leeks, has garlic, onions, shallots, ramps, all of those plants. And if you just look at them, they look a lot similar to other plants that are not within that genus. So if we're out foraging and you see, a bunch of different types of plants that look like this genus Allium, which if you've seen them before, they look like leeks in the ground. Lilies also look like leeks, but they're very toxic. Another one is death camas. I've never heard of a death cama, but it's here in my notes. Death cama is also looks very similar to to this genus Allium. However, it is very toxic. The way you would tell that it is not is in every species within this genus of Allium has that signature garlic smell. So you would pick the leaf or rub the leaf, strike it with your thumbnail or whatever you want to do, and smell it. Does it have that signature smell of this? Smells like a green onion. Smells like a leaf, a shallot, and that is most likely an Allium. Now, this is just a generalization. So I'm not telling you to go out and start picking things that look like onions and just throw them in your mouth, but this is a way that you can help identify, is by identifying down to the genus. So that is a trait that's specific to genus, is that onion you smell. And if you think it doesn't smell like Allium, maybe something's wrong here. That's and also useful to know other plants too. Like don't just limit to forays, because other plants not only tell you don't touch me, but they'll also tell you things like what time of year it is, what the soil temperature is. For example, morel season, one of the foragers' favorite seasons. You can look on Oklahoma Mesonet and check the forage soil temperature by the fancy devices that they have stuck in the ground. Or you can also look for other flora that only flower or only produce signals during certain soil temperatures. So I like to say the little mouse ears on elm trees. Those are my favorite little signs that the soil temperature is just right. Same with red buds. When red buds are right at their peak, soil temperature is just right for morel mushrooms. So learn other plants, not just edible plants. So use quality field guides. And cycle your field guides every so often. This is that Southwest Foraging by John Slattery that I mentioned. This book is pretty great. However, a lot of the flora in this book, and you'll find this common in pretty much every foraging field guide, uses John Slattery's special names for each plant. It's like I have never heard of sumac called lemonade berry, but that's what John calls it, and so that's what it's named in this plant. And it took me forever to figure out, to actually look at the genus and species. Wait a minute, that's sumac. What are you talking about? But every field guide is going to have its own names for it. So it's another reason to switch out your field guides. You get more out of it, and you get more of the common names. I'm sure every region has its own names for plants too. I mean, just like Dad's story with the wood sorrel, it's called wood sorrel, but sheep shower is what it was called and what it's called passed down. I'm sure there's a field guide somewhere where it's called sheep shower. So it's great to utilize field guides. Get one specific to your biome. There's tons of them out there. They're great. This one I've already recommended. There's one by Kathy Dill that I recommend called Wild Crafting for Oklahoma. Wildcrafting for Oklahoma, and that one is really great, specific to the cross timbers. And go out on foraging walks with an experienced forager. Like it's one thing to look at the plant over and over in a book, but it's another thing to actually go out and touch, feel, experience. Like this is actually what a dandelion root should feel like, or this is actually what a cattail should look like, or where it lives, or how you eat it. So and there's other reasons too, and I'll get to that as well. But go out on a walk with an experienced forager. It's one of the best ways to learn. And observe the changes in your biome, wherever biome you want to forage at. Observe them for an entire year. See how the changes are. Walk in the same park every day for a year. I mean, not every day, but as much as you can for a year. And, I like to take pictures of plants, or take pictures of just a general area, and see how this has changed throughout the seasons. One season there's henbit here, and then the next season I don't see it at all, and it's been replaced by another plant. Doesn't mean it's gone, but the season has changed. And you'll get better attuned to this is the time of year for wood sorrel. It's the time of year for henbit. When I started out in foraging, the first year I did it, I got so frustrated because anytime we had gone out to the farm, to grandparents' farm, we were always going out in the summertime. And so when I first got out, I was like, where the heck are all these wood sorrel? I found them so easily before. Why am I so bad at this? Well, not the right time of year. And that's something you gotta learn. So observe changes for an entire year. It's really one of the best ways to start. And, like John Slattery and Kathy Dill and everyone else who makes those foraging guides, they use their own names. Why don't you try using your own names for you can create your own field guide, create your own, make your own drawings, or just take pictures, make an album in your phone of these are the plants that I've observed, or even the plant that I've tasted. See how it is? Like it can be a really great experience, be fun, and it's a great way to get out in the outdoors. That's what this really is about, right? So, those are my 7 tips. Does anyone want me to go through them again? Okay. Some tips for starters in foraging. And these are a little bit of, experience and a little bit of foraging etiquette. So, being nice to other foragers out there and being nice to the environment. So, the rule of thirds is an important concept for, wildlife conservation, stewardship, being a good steward of the land when you're out here foraging. Because, there's other animals that live out here. It's not technically it's your home, but it's not really your home. Like the raccoon's home, it's the fox's home. So the rule of thirds is when you're foraging, make sure to leave a third for wildlife and leave a third for the plants to recover. So it might be really nice to take all those berries and harvest all the beauty berries, but that's what the plant needs to grow more beauty berries next year. So keep that in mind whenever you're foraging. It's part of just being a good steward. And really the wildlife needs as much help as it can get. I don't want to be too annoying about that with wildlife conservation, but just something to think about is livestock in the world. The livestock makes up 62% of the world's biomass, and 34% of the world's biomass are humans. That only leaves 4% for the rest of the world of land be conscious of how you treat the outdoors. Especially because, you want it to be around for the next generation. I want to pick all of the morels because I want the spores to get around. I want the mycelium to continue so that it keeps on going. And kind of part of that too is, harvest what you'll use. And if you are going to harvest some red bud because you want to make some jelly, harvest what you need to make the jelly. You don't need to take the whole tree down and take way more than you need. And this picture is just a stock photo. I don't know what this is, but this guy harvested 2 giant Bellettis. Maybe he'll eat them, maybe he won't, but I'm hoping that he's harvesting what he eats. So just harvest what you use. Be gentle to the wildlife. Minimize your impact. And I don't expect that when someone's out harvesting mushrooms that they take a shovel and dig up all the mushrooms. But I've heard people do that before. They say you really need to get all of that morel because it goes down a little bit farther into the ground. You're damaging the mycelium underneath. You're damaging the actual organism. So minimize your impact. And it goes back to simple leave your trace principles. To be conscious of your footprint in the outdoors. And just keep in mind when you are out foraging, it's a living, breathing ecosystem. So just be conscious of it. Some tips for mushrooms is you can cut instead of pulling, and that helps protect the mycelium underneath. Also, I don't like having to wash off all the dirt on the morels. So, it's a 2-for-1. Stay on paths and on animal trails. And don't try to blaze your own trail to get to a good honey hole. So be nice to the environment. It's common courtesy, I would think.
What's the difference between a mushroom and truffle?
So I'm not experienced with truffles. I heard that there are some here in Oklahoma, but I have not really messed with them much. But truffle they're both types of fungus. And a mushroom, like the mushroom that you see there, or like a morel mushroom and a truffle, those are just the fruiting bodies of the actual organism. And they fruit in different ways. So, like a morel mushroom, it'll fruit by having that weird looking, it's a pretty unique looking mushroom. And it uses that to help get those spores out. So mushrooms like these, they drop their spores straight down, and that's just their mechanism for spreading. But they're not the actual organism. It's just the fruiting body of the organism. And truffle, again, I don't know much about truffle. What's that?
I think you don't see them, they're underground, you have to dig for them.
Yeah, you have to dig for them or use like a truffle pig or a truffle poodle. I've seen truffle poodles here in Oklahoma. Yeah.
The truffle is just a name, just like the turkey or the chicken soup or some of the other, I don't know what their true names are, but the ones he's introduced me to. The truffle is just the name of the type of mushroom.
What about fairy green? That's usually indicative
It's
of
indicative of.
toadstools.
Yep. So again, that's a different type of fungus, and so it's a different species or genera of fungus. So that one is, I believe it's called the vomiter mushroom. But they grow in in these rings. And they don't do that because the mushroom sees like, oh, well, you're here, and so, you know, my buddy needs to be here, my buddy needs to be here, and we go around in a ring. That's not how it works. The mushroom that you see, the ones in the rings, those are just the fruiting bodies. And the actual organism is called mycelium, and it lives deep underground. It's some of the largest organisms in the world. I've heard some people say there's one in the southern U.S. that is of the honey mushroom variety that is the largest organism in the world, and it's like miles and miles of mycelium. And
There's one in 3 states.
Yeah. And so it's easy to confuse that mycelium versus the mushroom, but the mushroom that you see, that is just the fruiting body of it. And the mycelium is the actual organism underneath. And that organism will have its own different traits. Like, you know, some mushrooms will turn whatever the mycelium is going through, turn them deep orange. Or some will have their fruiting bodies will grow up in rings. Stuff like that. So, yeah, know the edible parts of each flora and its preparation. So, does anyone know what these are?
Oak.
And elderberries?
Perfect.
What'd you say, oak?
Oak.
Yeah, I have it in my yard.
Yep. Oak and elderberry. So these are two very different plants. But they look pretty similar. Their leaves look very similar. And their berries look very similar. But as we can see, they're growing in kind of a different pattern. These elderberry, well, so this is the genera Sambucus. This is elderberry. And it's every plant in this genera, every species in this genera grows in these clusters. And that's really one of the easiest ways you can tell the difference is they all grow in these clusters. Whereas pokeweed grows in these kind of raceways of berries. The term's called a machine, but it grows kind of these raceways of berries. They look very similar. They both have those dark berries. But if you were to confuse these two, then you would have a very bad time. Because elderberry, while it is a useful and edible forage, this poke, especially when it's having berries, is extremely toxic. It can make you very sick. And it goes back to identifying via the genera, because any genera of the elderberry will have these clusters, when any genera of oak, which I think is just oak, will have these machines. Now it's not just as simple as that too, because poke is incredibly toxic during this part of its lifetime. When it's young and it's not very tall and it has not turned purple yet in the stems, it's actually edible, and some people say it's quite delicious. And in elderberry is actually somewhat toxic. It's not prepared properly. So they all have their different toxicities, but we need to know how to prepare them and when to prepare them. Once oak gets up to a certain height, it starts turning purple in the stems, and especially once it has berries, it's very, very toxic. Not something you want to be around at all. So it's just good to know each different part. So for poke, when it's young, it still is technically toxic. And to prepare it, you need to boil it, rinse it, boil it, rinse it, and that gets actually true for a lot of forage. So morel mushrooms, those can be toxic if you do not prepare them properly. False morels, germitas, those, some people love them, and those are also incredibly toxic if they're not prepared properly. So it's one thing to identify a plant, find it. You also need to learn how to prepare it, how to keep yourself safe. Only forage when it's safe and legal. The laws are about to change here in Oklahoma. And it's kind of strange that they are the way they are, but until those laws have changed, it is not legal to forage on state property, on hunting grounds, on parks, on anything like that. You can get fined for foraging on those properties. So, you know, if you don't want to get fined, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I agree with that law, because I certainly don't. I believe the outdoors should be for everyone, but I also don't want you to get fined. So don't do that until it's legal. And then also, when it's safe, what does that mean? Well, plants are a part of their environment. And, you know, the environments that people are around, edge habitats, they have a lot of stuff going on. And those plants, they soak up all of that. So, you know, if you see a patch of morels right next to the busiest part of I-35, I mean, that's pretty cool that you found them. Everything that those cars have been leaking out and have been, you know, resuming, that's going to be in those morels. Some of the best, one of the best foraging patches that I had found, but sadly cannot have any from, was when I was working at the zoo, is in the zoo poo yard, where they do all of their zoo compost. And the fungus loves poo, but I probably don't want to eat those fungus. And then, you know, you might find some really cool mushrooms at a clean part of your park, clean part of the city park. However, what does the city do to parks? They treat them with pesticides and treat them with fertilizers and other nasty chemicals that will get soaked up by those plants, by those fruits. So keep that in mind when you're foraging. Look where you are, look around you. Like, is this runoff from a nasty dump? Even though it's pretty right here. So keep that in mind whenever you're out there. Yeah. Foraging foods are not the same as GMO foods. Dandelion is great. It's a wonderful and nutritious salad. You know, every part of it is edible. It's good for you, anti-inflammatories, like all kinds of stuff that people would love to eat. You go out and eat a dandelion, you're probably going to want to spit it out. You're like, ugh, I'm eating a dandelion. Like, it kind of tastes gross. It's not the same as, like, you know, a kale that you buy from the store, or lettuce that you buy from the store. I mean, pretty much anything that you're going to buy at a grocery mart is genetically modified in some way. Even if they say that it's not, even if they say this is organic and made by, you know, my own mother's ears, like this is genetically modified in some way to taste better, to be better for you, maybe, to make better profits, maybe. And so, you know, the foods that you find out in the wilderness, even though they are great, it's not going to taste the same as, you know, the kind of store-bought food that you have. That doesn't mean don't enjoy it. It just means keep that in mind when you go out and you harvest a bunch of berries. Say you harvest blackberry, and tons of blackberry, especially if you go out to Thunderbird, lots of blackberry out there, delicious, and really rich in flavor, but it is a very different flavor than blackberries that you can find at the store. You know, mushrooms, like oyster mushrooms, even morel mushrooms, they're gonna have a very significantly different flavor. Some people love them, I love them, some people don't like them, because it doesn't taste the same. So keep that in mind, like you're not gonna go out there and you're like, yeah, I feel great, I just had a wonderful feast. You might have, but it's not gonna taste the same as, you know, our palate that is specified to, you know, the kind of foods that Americans eat. And last, remember why you're out there. Remember why you're foraging. So it's, I love the art of foraging, and I love going out there and finding plants, finding food. Some I take home, some I feed my family. Not all of it, because you know that's not why I'm there. I'm out there because I want to connect with the outdoors. I want to be in the great outdoors. I want to connect with nature. I really want to, you know, show my family, show my youngins, like how this is the world we live in. It's finite. We have to take care of it. We have to make sure it's there for the next guy. We have to be nice to the animals, be nice to the plants, be good stewards. So, you know, I like to teach. I like to, you know, experience the outdoors, and that's why I like foraging. Some people might like it because, you know, I'm really hungry. I just want to eat. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Just keep in mind why you're out there. And, you know, it's not just a way to get food. It's also a way to experience the outdoors, connect with nature. And, you know, really, that's what it's really about. So, that concludes my lecture for the this tips of foraging. Does anyone want me to go over anything? Okay.
Thank you.
So,
I didn't see anything before this, I just saw the clover there.
I
I know clovers are,
yeah, some of them.
Go out outside on the
So we are also going to do a little outside portion, a little walkabout, if you want to follow along with this part. Just for this part of the of this, I just want to introduce iNaturalist and Seek. These are apps that you can find on your cell phone, telephone. Download on the Google Play Store and App Store. Working at the Plum City Zoo and in wildlife conservation for years, we participate a lot in iNaturalist. And iNaturalist, what it is iNaturalist is a citizen science website. So science, like, you know, astronomy and naturalism, it's a lot. It's a huge field, and it's one thing for scientists to go out and study because you know they have finite resources, but you know people can do this too, and really people do. iNaturalist is a website that we call it citizen science website because citizens participate in the collation of all of the data on this website. And it's actually what naturalists and biologists use for data because it is a way that you can, you know, track observations via region, via time of the year, that citizens have gone out and seen. Will there be, you know, insects, plants, animals, birds, great for birding, all that too. And Seek is its companion app. It's a neat app that is 2-for-1. Whenever you take observations using this app, You can choose to upload them to iNaturalist and do your part, and then in Citizen Science. Also, with it having access to the iNaturalist database, it can also use reverse search to really almost positively identify almost anything, as you pointed at. It's pretty amazing. It uses, the time of year that you are at. It uses your location that you are at. It uses, the weather, current weather patterns. It uses, and the imagery that you are collecting to help narrow this down via that massive database on iNaturalist. And so it's a pretty cool tool. And my favorite part about it is with C, you can also use it to create your own foraging book. So anytime you take observations, it actually goes into your own list of these are the observations that I have observed. And using that, you can create your own field guide. Oh, I've seen that plant before. I even have a picture of it. And this is exactly what it is. And you can click on it. It'll take you to this thing on iNaturalist where you can look at its properties, where its normal regions are, if it's an invasive plant, if it's a native plant, if it's endangered or not. And it's a pretty cool resource. So iSeek is one that we'll use for one that I'll show you guys outside. And yeah, that's what I have for the lecture.
All right. After you guys do the walkabout, I did pull some books. They're on a cart outside the room. Some library books. We do have some outside the room.
Sweet. Yeah. These are my notes. Foraging tips.
Don't worry, he's been there for a long time.
I'm interested in it, but always what you gotta worry about is you don't want to put something into your lungs that's harmful. So, how do you,
The best way is observe it and just make sure you positively identify plants, not just through a book, but through an experienced forager, through maybe a video or something. And there's videos online where they can give you tips on how to test if you don't know.
before you eat it?
Yeah, so there's tests that you can do to test, there's allergies.
Okay.
So look online for that, but I would suggest find as many ways to verify as you can.
Okay.
And especially when you use the verification
You
of
said I
experience
see.
form. I see, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What was it under?
I'd be interested in going with somebody that knows.
I haven't seen any besides just, the basic, there's a couple of groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mushroom foraging group and Oklahoma Morel foraging group.
Mushroom. I thought mushrooms were poisonous.
A lot of them are.
I know. I eat mushrooms in my.
So.
Are you a guy? Do you?
Yes,
So.
but I haven't, since COVID, I haven't shot any foraging logs, and I need to back into just classes.
I have a question. I know I've never seen the yellow flower, because mommy had told me that the yellow flowers had two cheetahs.
Oh, yeah, dandelion. Yeah, we didn't really go over any plans, we just went over tips of just how to get started. Here's my notes on it, you can take them if you want. And then we're actually gonna go outside and go look at some if you want. It's a little chilly, just keep that in mind.
It's just winter.
Thanks guys for coming along on the adventure. Happy trails.